Welcome everyone to SCORE Minnesota's marketing series. Today's topic is identifying your prospective clients and targeting them. Our presenter is Jack Morris. This is the third in a four-part series. Before we get started, I'd like to tell you a little bit about SCORE. SCORE is a nationwide nonprofit organization that is supported by the Small Business Administration, or the SBA. SCORE provides free, confidential business mentoring in person and online. We, the SCORE Minnesota chapter, have nearly 90 volunteers ready, willing, and able to help you move your business to the next level. Our chapter has recently been recognized as a Diamond Chapter of Excellence for mid-sized markets, which is the highest award that a chapter can receive. Since its founding in 1964, SCORE has assisted over 11 million clients. How can we help you? We can help you in all stages of your business, whether you're in a pre-startup thinking about opening a business, or in the startup phase, you've opened one, but now you need to boost the sales and business, or whether you're in business and you want to grow. Or lastly, if you're thinking about selling or closing a business, we have a whole exit strategy group that can help you. We encourage you to visit our website, minnesota.score.org. There you can request a mentor, find a workshop or webinar event, locate a podcast, or browse through our library of resources. Lastly, I'd like to thank our sponsors and community partners. These are the businesses that keep the lights on for us. So when you're out and about, if you can thank them for their support of SCORE, we'd really appreciate it. And now, without further ado, let's bring on Jack Morris.
We're going to begin to talk about how to begin developing an effective customer profile. Who is that person that you are expecting to be a future or added to your already existing list of customers? How are you going to reach more customers or reach them for the first time? You've got to construct some idea of who you're talking to. So having said that, let me just say that we're again going through the basic principles of effective and efficient marketing communications. Both of them are critically important to this whole 4-week session. Effective meaning saying the right thing the right way that your customers understand, and efficient means sending that message so as efficiently with the fewest amount of resources so that you don't overly tax your business's money, time, employees' efforts, all those things. So effective and efficient are the two foundational bases for these 4-week presentations. So you have a well-crafted message, first 2 weeks, and now we're going to be talking about the final 2 weeks dealing with a properly profiled audience. Regardless of who's out there, and I frankly don't know the audience profile today, so I will assume some of you have existing businesses, some of you are still in the conceptual development basis, some of you are members of SCORE already, some of you are unaware that you should be, and maybe through the completion of these 4 weeks you'll better understand the need for you to embrace SCORE as a major resource to helping you get through your entire business needs and opportunities. So to review week 1, we were talking about developing S-words and unique selling proposition expressions. There could be more than one depending on your situation, and search engine optimization efforts. Those are being used to determine a better assortment of truths and facts around your business. Yes, you will start with your good judgment. Yes, you will start with your being the most knowledgeable about your business, but sooner or later you've got to get some facts to support that you are representing this communication model correctly. And it's vitally important, as the communication model properly said, and I'm going to be going at this later on in my presentation, you've got to manage your feedback so that you're getting information that confirms or modifies what you're attempting to do with your marketing communications. So it's okay to use your judgment, best information available. It's as good as anybody else could ever develop because you're the boss of your company. You should know it better than anybody walking on this planet. But there's also ways to become better and more effective, supported by this objective information or investigation and research. So what am I going to try to get you to do here in this brief amount of time is introduce you to concepts that might help you better organize your thinking on how to construct that prospective customer profile. These are three ways, and they all are not independent. They all can coexist very happily together, but they are all different in the ways they exist. And so we're going to start with the most time-tested, way of developing a customer profile, and that's by the use of demographic information. Below that blue bar are examples of what that might mean. What is the age of your prospective customer? Is there a racial aspect to their appeal to your business? Is there an ethnicity, a gender, a marital status, income? That sometimes raises its head quite often when you're trying to figure out, can they afford my business? Education can play into it. Why are these variables all of value to you? Is that they already exist. They already exist in various places for you to be able to use your judgment. Again, use your judgment. Using these criteria, you start producing a demographic model of who do you think best represents your prospective customers. Where do they live? And all the stuff that's listed below it. And then I'm going to preview also in the next part of that, going into a little bit more. It's a little bit more complicated to go after this, but there's a whole brand new field, psychographics, brand new in the terms of a couple of decades ago. It's made its appearance and now is becoming very, very commonly available to you. And so psychographics involve attitudes and behavior, wishes, dislikes, what's going on in the brain of your prospective customers and what's going on with their behavior patterns. Why are psychographics so critically important to you? Because this allows you, once you figure out the psychographic profile, in addition to the demographic profile, you now know where your customers are, and they are engaged in things that relate to what your business is all about through their behavior and attitudes. And you also begin to get much clearer insights to their needs and wants and problems and frustrations with the competition that's out there, so that you can properly manage your marketing communications to address those things if they in fact are something your business can successfully acknowledge and recognize and satisfy. So psychographics becomes another dimension to the target audience profile, our target customer profile, and there is a way to go after that information very effectively, especially once you get through Jeremy's week 4 presentation. This last one came as a surprise to me several years ago when I had a partner doing a similar presentation, and he introduced me to the PI concept of target customer profile. Initially, I thought it was cute and somewhat in that name. It was like, I don't know how serious is it. But you know something, it's an aspect. PI is an aspect of psychographics in terms of who's listening to your message, who's acting on your message. Two very different things. The audience that you may be reaching is only maybe one of these three potential people that are involved with the purchase decision. The purchaser themselves are the ones with the cash or the credit card or a debit card. They're the ones that actually buy the product. But what made them choose that product? Well, you've got people on the other end of that organization, whether it be a family, an individual, or a company, if you're business to business. You've got people that are highly influential to the purchaser, and there are people that might be the end users of the product or service that you're offering, but they're not the person that makes the purchase. But you can fully understand that the influentials and end users have a strong voice. Even though that purchaser is the person you come in contact with, you're coming in contact with them because they've been asked by the influentials and end users to go ahead and seek you out for reasons that they believe are valuable. One of the best examples I used in presenting the pie as a way of helping your business succeed and effectively and efficiently marketing your services and product is Disney. I know it's a huge company, very simple in the way it can, but it fits beautifully into this. Who purchases a ticket to get into Disney World? And I would say it's going to be probably an adult, i.e. money, credit card, all those things. It's going to be an adult. Hey, your demographic profile may show that the female of a family or a female might be making that decision as the actual purchaser of it. But is she acting in a vacuum? No. And we're going to call her mom for the sake of convenience and brevity. So who is telling mom to go buy a ticket at Disney? Well, and now it becomes kind of, obvious to you that the kids in that family or people that are living with the purchaser or people that are also going to be impacted by that purchase, you can understand how the Disney operation views children as a very important audience for them to promote themselves to, because kids pretty much can make their opinions and aspirations and wishes and call them even demands, and mom and dad are going to react accordingly. That relationship of influential to purchaser happens everywhere, where the purchaser may want confirmation from someone else to clarify what they're purchasing. And if they're coming to you, maybe you need to better understand who is it that's influencing their decision. The last part of that is the end user. In the Disney thing, I maybe humorously, it's up to you, but I refer to dad in that family. Why would dad be telling mom, to go purchase tickets to Disney? Well, you can make up all kinds of reasons why dad wants to have some say in the matter, but maybe dad's a golfer. And while the kids are in line waiting to get on some attraction ride and everything, dad may opt out and hit a couple of balls and play some golf, and he gets a huge benefit out of the family going to Disney World. And the end user, by the way, could be anybody. I'm making this humorous reference to Disney just to kind of make sure the pie thing is understood. Once I kind of figured out the importance of pie, that there may be people behind the customer who are helping that customer make that proper decision. Are there influentials and are there end users for the purchases made with your business? That's something for you to determine and decide. Okay, we've got demographic, psychographic, we've got the pie thing going on, but demographics was a whole list of stuff. If you'll refer back to that slide, you can probably construct what I might call a primary demographic profile. In other words, maybe race isn't that important. Maybe geography isn't that important. Maybe the zip code. Whatever the term, there's going to be priorities given to some of the criteria for a demographic profile. It's your job to kind of figure out, even initially, I think it's basically this subset of all the available demographic information that best represents my current understanding of who my prospective customers are. Is there a need for a secondary demographic profile? Usually down the road, you're going to be looking at opportunities, as in a SWOT analysis. You're going to be looking for things that can make your business continue to grow. And that may be the time for you to start looking at and contemplating the idea of secondary additional demographics that might represent not your initial high priority, but let's see just how gender might fit into this down the road. If we have a need to split up our message between females and males, that's why it's in paren. It's not going to be something you need to look at initially, but don't think of demographics as a static given. They will change as your knowledge about your own business and how it is being able to effectively market itself to the target audience you're going after, that dynamic will be evolving, and then you can start figuring out whether your demographic profile needs to adjust itself accordingly. Once you've completed some semblance of an effective startup demographic profile, you're going to have the ability to far better understand when your communications should be sent out and more importantly, where. And I'm referring to where as a geographic. I've got clients I'm working with right now that are initially looking at geography is a very important part of their target audience, especially in year one, where there may be more prospective customers in a specific area of the country. Maybe if your business that you're contemplating is a local business here in the West Coast of Florida, or maybe Florida, you still might want to use that demographic profile to identify where is the highest density of prospective customers as I've defined them, in the area that I can maybe afford to market against, or maybe my supply chain or channels that I'm going to use are going to be such in year one that you need a closer geographic world to deal with. Jeremy's going to be able to deal with that far more effectively than I can at this time when he presents next week's presentation.
Key resources and the key reasons.
Okay. So now I've got a profile for my demographics, a primary profile, if you will. How do I go about finding them? Two sources, one of which might be conveniently available to you, and that's your local library. But there's always the internet. There's always the internet. And what I'm getting at here is, let's go back to this demographic profile for a business. I've made up this thing. It's completely made up. I have no business that is looking at this collection of criteria. But let's say, it's to help you understand, is my business, is my product line, are my services somehow appealing predominantly to Hispanic women? Are these Hispanic women of a certain age range where they are in need of my product or services? So age becomes a demographic that you have to pay attention to. There may be a college requirement here, some college or above, because maybe the product or service that you're dealing with involves some kind of something elaborate or something sophisticated, and it's better to have that kind of criteria for your target audience, because you think you might be able to get an audience with that added who will better understand your marketing message. Household income, this is that 600-pound gorilla in your demographic room. Have they got the ability to pay for your business, your product, or your service? Is your product or service considered something of a luxury? In other words, it doesn't deal with housing, clothing, food, something above and beyond the essentials, something that would require budgeting to be able to figure out whether or not that one-time purchase or a continued purchasing history should be applied. Does income affect that in any way? And if so, to what degree? These Hispanic women that I just identified in my mystery business seem to be more connected to Western United States cities. There's a geography. We all probably already understand that those areas in that part of the United States may be more heavily populated by Hispanics. So it wouldn't be a big mystery to find out that maybe the attention you're going to develop for this mysterious fictional company exists more in the Western part of the country. All demographics are not equal. So as I've already pointed out to you, there are things like gender, income, geography, zip codes that might raise their heads as being more important than the other ones. But I want to say something to you now that says the more elements you can put in with confidence to your demographic profile creates a tighter population of people, a more well-defined, tighter, and it's going to be more effective if you can add meaningful criteria to your demographic profile. It's not a deal breaker. You can still go with the three I've mentioned and do quite well in being able to at least get your message into the area where your target prospective customers exist. But the more you can add, the more the search engines can work to making sure that you're getting that tighter definition population better reached. The library. I've got, okay, here's a link to Demographics Get Started Guide. I'm smiling because I've seen it, and it's do it. Just do it. If you want to learn, if you want to get a college level course on how to develop an effective demographic profile, go to this link. hopefully this presentation is going to make you want to go to the link, but there's it's kind of up to you as to how deep you want to get in understanding that customer profile so that you can effectively and efficiently reach them with your company message. There's also some other things. I want you to write down something that wasn't on this slide, should have been, but write down the phrase mergent intellect, MERGENT, intellect, INTELLECT. Mergent intellect is also a website, and it is also a resource found in your local library when you go to the counter and ask for it. Mergent Intellect is a database that consolidates demographic information in a very meaningful way. So maybe you can use the internet to make you more fluent in the idea of a demographic profile, and then go to the library and get that very talented person behind the counter to help you research available small business information guides like Mergent Intellect, and there are several others that I know are out there, and you will become incredibly smart about constructing this message and getting it to the right people. Okay, we're drifting from demographics on over to psychographics. You see a side-by-side comparison of all the criteria that exist in both. Hopefully I have not bored you to death with the demographics, but when you get into the psychographics, these 5 variables are pretty good in determining what you're searching for. What is it about the prospective customers, their personality? Does that, like demographics, is that an important thing to understand? What kind of a person are they? Outgoing? Are they social? Are they wanting to try new things? That kind of stuff ends up in personality. What are their values? What's important to them? Safety is usually a very strong value. Likability. They may want to use your company to enhance their ability to interact with other people. I don't know what your business products or services are, but knowing the values of knowing what you think to be the values of your psychographics of your prospective customer allows you to customize and target your message so that it appeals to these values. Are important to a person. If your product or services appeal to their values, you're making a huge amount of progress in getting them to figure out how to choose you over the existing sources they're currently using. What are their attitudes? Similar kind of things, values, personality, attitudes. Are they attitudes, maybe behavior as to do they really need and want this product in their lives? Are you a fancy frilly thing that they'll occasionally go after infrequently, or is this something you could get their loyalty established and they will become a constant and continuous because you appeal to the way they look at themselves and feel about themselves? And that's kind of what psychographics is all about, matching your product or service with the way your customers think and act. Attitudes and behavior. If you're selling a product, I'm going to get into an example in just a second, but if you're selling a product that appeals to people who enjoy outdoor activities, and you've got a way to do that, you sell sporting apparel, or you're selling accessories for being outdoors, you want to find those people that are also already tied in with that kind of product and service because they use it continuously in their lives. So you want to get into their attitudes and behaviors and find out which ones are relevant to what you're saying in your unique selling proposition and the messages that you connect with that. And you'll be able to match up what your business is offering with prospective customers that are actively looking for you. That's what that's all about. Here's just another way of looking at that personality, your psychographic profile. Think of it in terms of a pie that all adds up to a buyer persona. This buyer persona is all about, fixing people's problems or needs or wants and the attitudes that they have, i.e. dissatisfaction with existing products that they're currently using. So what you're trying to do is Psychographics is going after problem solutions based on actual needs and wants that your prospective customers are currently experiencing. And you're coming into their lives with an effective marketing communication that says, consider this, and maybe you'll see that whatever it is that's bothering you, my company has some solutions that might make your life a little bit better. So their usage situation, as exemplified by this psychographic profile, just allows you to match up your message with a need that's out there with a prospective customer that is already looking for you, but have just found out that you exist and now they want to know you better. So in order to try to make my point a little bit clearer, I developed two mysterious imaginary businesses, and then I got stuck with trying to figure out how to defend them. And I think I've done okay with that. Somehow or another, in all this time during COVID, I figured out a way to make a better mosquito repellent. I know the world is not going to shift off its axis with this, but hey, this is happening every day. In every store you might go into, somebody's come up with a new idea and convinced whoever the retailer is to take it on as part of their product line. I'm going to invent a product and a service that is that. It represents what everybody out there is trying to do, find a better solution to existing products and services. So you've got a better mosquito repellent. In Florida, that sounded like something relevant, and a better lawn care service. And once again, in Florida, I think that's a something that most homeowners, have clearly on their minds. Wonder if there's any problems out there in the lawn care business. Let's find out. Because what we're going to try to do with this thing you've invented, and maybe you've done some research and maybe you haven't, but you've got a better, what you consider to be a better mosquito repellent and what you consider to be a better model of a lawn care service. So what are what are your prospective customers' wants and needs, and what's the usage situation that you can intercept them in, and when they're maybe thinking about you with your company's marketing communication. So on this chart, basically a way for me to explain what I'm trying to do with you and understanding how to customer profile and how to customize your message to make it relevant to these people that you've identified. Most human beings have things called wants and needs. I want, I want a fancy sports car. I need transportation. So that, wants is something that, I want. There are various levels of wants. But if you satisfy a want, has your life been significantly advanced? And it may or may not be in that ballpark, but they certainly as you're looking for, something is going to help you desire to buy it because it satisfies what they want. What they need is a very serious thing. It taps into, I need to spend less time. I need to spend less money. Needs sometimes can be easily defined as time and money matters. People are always trying to figure out how to make their income go longer and be used more effectively and efficiently. So they can use that money that they've saved in resolving their needs to go purchase a couple of wants. These are the things that make life a little better. So in this mosquito repellent, I've developed something that makes my mosquito repellent actually work as a skin lotion. Putting that chemical on your skin in various places, your face, your neck, your arms, all these places that you want to protect. These are places that are important to you to look nice. And so maybe adding a lotion, I'm making this stuff up. Don't get carried away. This doesn't exist. Adding some type of lotion, or even if you want to get crazy here, allows people to get a tan. Again, this is all fictional. I can make it up as I go just to make my point, but do you get my point? I've got there's sunscreen out there and they do a good job repelling UV ultraviolet and all that stuff, but I've got one that'll make your skin feel better after use and might in fact enhance that nice tan you're always trying to have. So that's a want. I want my skin to look better and I want to look tan. I want to look better. What I need is an economic thing. Mosquito repellent doesn't last very long. It may not be, it also might not be waterproof. So it lasts long. Maybe that's another need. Lasts longer because washing will not remove all of it. It will still, be able to withstand a couple of washings and still provide some level of protection. So lasting longer is both an economic thing. I don't have to spend as much money on sunscreen, on mosquito repellent. So I'm saving money on this deal and getting more benefits out of it. That's nice. And so who's buying mosquito repellent? Well, people who are outdoors. If you've got a mosquito problem indoors, you may have a different problem that you need to have solved. But if you're an outdoors person, so tennis players and campers and all this stuff, people need this as a solo product, but people may be doing it with groups, i.e. families stuff. People who are traveling out in various places, as they are traveling, they might want to bring along, in addition to other things, cosmetics and stuff, they want to have a handy container of this mosquito repellent as they travel around to various parts of the countries that have varying mosquito problems. Louisiana is a little bit different than Vermont in July, but in December, maybe Louisiana's got more of a mosquito problem than Vermont does. I'm fairly certain about that. Going on vacations, traveling cruise ship, or get it? You see, you've got a product here. It's a mosquito repellent with an added feature to it that you think your prospective customers may see as being a better product than what they're currently using. And this is where you're going to find them and target your communications to them when they're actually doing this activity or are planning on doing that activity. You're going to catch them mentally aware and sensitive to the story you're going to tell them about this activity that you're contemplating or actually doing. I've got a better idea for you while you're doing that. Move on over to landscaping, cutting the grass, pruning trees, all that kind of stuff. So the landscaping business, what are the problems involved with landscaping? What are the things that people express as being frustrating about landscaping? And I was like, maybe people are now getting to the point, again, this is fictional, maybe people are, and you got a landscaping business, and what is it that's going to make them want to deal with you versus the competition? Well, maybe you're going to deal with their ever increasing sensitivity about environmental concerns. Are the chemicals that you're using in doing your job here going to be harmful to certain plants and animals out there? Are they water soluble, or do they stay in the ground as a chemical that might damage something in the infrastructure? But the issue here is, I think you need to, if you're into anything that impacts the environment, you have to be a little more sensitive to your product or services impact on that. Are they helping the environment, or are they doing something else? And then needs here. What is needed? If you're interested in having somebody regularly or occasionally come into your property that you own, and they're going to do landscaping here, I thought that it might be critically important that they are reliable, that they will have they will show up when they're supposed to show up and do what they're supposed to do, and not become something you're not sure of, where a trust factor may come into your relationship. You don't want to do that with your customers. You don't want to impact their trust factor. Is your service competitively low cost? Are you going to be able to get the same benefits from your work, or deliver the same benefits from your work at a lower cost, either because your people are more effective, efficient, have better equipment, are more sensitive to what to do now versus what to do later, thus the clock is reduced, thus the cost might be reduced. And so you've got a value going on here. We're getting great work for a lower or competitive cost. And that is a very appealing combination of things if you can figure out how to manage it on a reliable basis. Also, are the people that are dealing with your very important property that you've spent obviously a lot of money acquiring and money to maintain, these people know what they're doing. And what kind of facts can they deliver? What kind of testimonials can they deliver that talk about the fact that the people that they work for are extremely happy to have them as their landscaping resource? I would think that would be a very tangible thing for you to see. Usage. So who's landscaping? Environmental concerns. These are people that are very much involved with environment and promoting sustainability and low impact kind of things. Home-based technology might be an aspect of them where they're always researching ways in which their property can be improved upon and made more efficient. Solar heating is clearly an example of that. Trendsetters, people that are willing to try new things and be the first in the block, first in their neighborhood. These are people that are sort of trendsetters in any category. And if your product or service in this landscaping thing offers something that's kind of new in the way you do your business and it's innovative, and a lot of people get attracted to being the first on the block. And so that could be that kind of behavior and attitude pattern that can appeal to you if your business is set up for that. All right, we gotta get into this research thing a little bit. It's very important. We want our customers to be repeat customers. You want them to be satisfied and come back, so feedback from them. This is the communication model. This is that little thing that went from the receiver back to the sender. How did they think? How do they feel? What do they wish? What do they like? What is the feedback you're getting? And you get that feedback both directly from your prospective customers, your existing customers. You can get feedback from the media you're using, as Jeremy is going to tell you next week. The media can now be a very, very valuable source of customer feedback to you, because that's going to be another dimension to your ability to model your business and keep it adjusting correctly, I hope. Keep it adjusting to satisfying the wants and needs of your prospective customers. So you got your customers identified. You somewhat understand their wants and needs. You have your unique selling proposition and all the other things that support it to address them. And you may have a handle on their behavior and attitudes as it relates to their consumption of the category you're involved in. The only question is, how sure are you of all of this? And hopefully you have an attitude that you never can know enough. You never can know enough about this communication model. You're always going to be needing some sort of feedback to verify whether you're saying and doing the right things, whether the message is being recorded or received correctly, and whether it is stimulating action on the part of your prospective customers. Those things are incredibly valuable. So the only thing in your business that's not going to change is the fact that it's continuously changing. And research, a well-organized body of research coming back to you, is going to be essential for you to have the confidence to proceed on successfully with your business. Two kinds of research. Market research is environmental research of what's going on around you. The good news about market research is that it already exists in your neighborhood library and on the internet. It tells you all about the demographics and trends and things that are going on. Is the economy improving? What is the factor of inflation on your business, and how is that going to be monitored and measured as we get through this period? The second one, however, is marketing research, and that is the information that is proprietary. Your company has its own information database relative to its products and services and its customers. The marketing research is where you have control over what it is you're receiving and how you're receiving it and what form, so you can act accordingly to use it to make your marketing communications better and get the revenue from them from a better set of communications. And now you've got a whole thing going on for your business. You've got feedback, you've got a message, you've got your target audience, and it all seems to fit very nicely. What kind of things would you want to know about your customers? What do you like about us? How are we relative to the competition you've had experience with? Who are the primary competition? Who are the people you rely on most, who I would consider to be the most threatening to my company's desire to get your business? Customers' wishes. What do they like about this particular product or service category? That's defined as weaknesses, competitive weaknesses. And you want to make sure that if you can, truthfully address those weaknesses with your company's services and products. You want to make that very clear in your marketing communications. Communication feedback, we just addressed that. Media usage, we addressed that also, and it will be used more by Jeremy's presentation next week. Prospective customers, how do you get to them effectively and efficiently? This is what I believe you're going to get valuable information from when Jeremy takes over in week 4. The media, with its way of maintaining hits and stays, and the feedback is again in his domain, and I would obviously defer to him to help that become clearer to you. So basically, in week 3, we're now getting a picture of how to define or how to profile a customer, and hopefully with that profile and the fact that you reach out and begin your communications, you'll be fanatically dedicated to getting ongoing research to help you continue to dynamically adjust to whatever changes the market is asking of you, to figure out what changes you can make to keep year 2, year 3, and year 4 to be growing and growing prosperously. So having said that, I conclude. I think, Diane, we may be going over into Q&A on this information.
We are. I wonder if
Okay.
you could just do one more click, Jack, so I could give a pitch for the Minnesota website. Oops, you got out.
That was the end.
That was the end. Okay, then don't go anywhere.
Now leave it be.
Why don't you stop sharing your screen, and Jeremy can start sharing his. We'll go to Q&A while this is happening, but I wanted to encourage everybody, stick around, because after Jack finishes his Q&A, Jeremy is going to come on, and he has some more than just an overview. He has some very important information about engaging your customers. So, Jack, we don't have a lot of questions. We have one that is, are the end users the same as the influentials in the Disney example?
In the Disney examples, they're not. The end users are the people that go to Disney. And I included Dad because he wasn't in the conversation in either the original purchasers or influencers, other than he may be whispering to his wife or partner, I'd like to be able to play a round of golf while I'm down there. So he is part of the end user, but he's not necessarily a priority part. The kids are the priority of influencing how mom buys that ticket. And so if you're going business to business, this is an important aspect for business to business. There is a department in the company you're trying to get your products and services into that has a purchase department. Those are the purchasers. But who's actually using the products or services? They may be people down on the assembly line. They may be people out there using this product when they're dealing with their customers. And so that becomes the end user, a very critical part of your understanding how to design exactly how your message is going to appeal to the people that can be playing a major part in becoming active customers.
Okay, one other question, and it's a spelling question, actually. The captions that are automatically appearing talk about mergent, MERGENT, or are they talking about merchant intellect?
Mergent, not merchant.
Okay, MERGENT.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I hope that clarifies it for everyone. So I just want to remind everyone that you will get a recording of this either today or tomorrow in your email because you attended. And I think, Jack, you're off the hook. I think we are ready to switch over to Jeremy. So thank you for your contribution, Jack, and hurry off to the airport.
I hope it helped everybody. Take care. See you next week.
Thanks, Jack. You're up, Jeremy.
Awesome. Thank you, Diane, and thank you, Jack, for that awesome presentation. For the last remaining about 12 to 13 minutes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything that we just learned from Jack about, how to target, how to actually target our audience. And now I'm going to show you how to engage that audience and how to actually market to that audience. So we're going to learn how to engage with your customers. Now, essentially, what Jack's entire presentation was about was trying to create a customer avatar or a buyer persona, right? And this is essentially the ideal person you're trying to sell to. And, in my experience, the majority of the time, a business owner focuses so heavily on what they're trying to sell, whether it's their products or their services, that they forget to focus on who they're trying to sell to. So it's extremely important that you sit down and you take the time to do everything that Jack had just talked about today. Now, for me personally, what I like to do is I like to use this little worksheet here. And it's just the buyer persona worksheet. And, just so you're aware, customer avatar and buyer persona, they essentially mean the same thing. It's just two different words for the same thing. But essentially, just think of it as your ideal customer. And as Jack stated, you want to look at the demographics and the psychographics. So he had the example of the Hispanic women. I think he said it was like ages 20 to 30 or something like that. So this is essentially what he was doing. He was using this worksheet to create a target market, to create his target audience. And so what you want to do is you want to try and be as specific as possible, because the more detailed that you get during this portion, the easier it's going to be when you actually go to market to that audience, right? So what I like to try to do is I like to create an actual person inside of a sort of chunk of my target demographic or my target market, right? Because you could be selling to multiple different target audiences, and you want to avoid being too broad when you're trying to create your target audience, because you want to be as specific as possible, and it's really going to help you down the road when it actually comes time to marketing to those audiences. So again, like what I like to do is I'll create a fictitious person. So I'll create a name for them. I say I'm not going to give them an age range. I'll say no, she's 26 years old. Female. She lives in Sarasota, Florida. She's really successful. She just bought her first house, and she needs somebody to take care of the yard for her. So, like Jack was saying with the lawn care company, I'm going to continue the lawn care company over into this section. So now that we have our target audience. And one thing I want to mention too is that, you don't have to know exactly who your target audience is. If you're just starting out and you don't know who your customers could be, then you're going to have to create a lot of buyer personas and just test them out to see if one works or not. Now, if you're already established and who are the influencers and who are the buyers, then you know already who you need to market to. So that makes it a little bit easier. But if you're just getting into this and you have no clue if you're even, pointed in the right direction with your target audience, it's okay. You're going to go through a lot of them before you actually find the target audience that's going to work for your business. But once you get those set in, now we can use Facebook to actually target those audiences. Now, the reason that we're using Facebook instead of, let's say, Google advertising is because Google, you're targeting based off of search terms and keywords. You don't really get to focus on demographics very much, aside from just, okay, what is their age and what is their gender? With Facebook, Facebook, you're actually targeting people, you're targeting audiences. And so we can actually go through the demographics and the psychographics and target people who match our criteria. And like I said, this is where we get to hone in on our customer avatars. So the more detailed your customer avatars are, the easier and more successful your marketing is going to be. And like I mentioned before, I like to create one audience per customer avatar. So if I have that, let's say the 26-year-old woman who just bought her first house, that's going to be one audience. Maybe I want to, create another audience for elderly, who don't have the movement that they had, 20 years ago, let's say. They can't go outside because it's too hot, especially in Florida, or, they just can't go outside to take care of their own yard. So they need somebody, to come and actually mow the yard and take care of it for them. So that would be a separate target audience. You can create a target audience for, men ages, let's say 60, 65 plus, and you can target them also based on their income levels. So if you own a landscaping company, but you want people who are willing to pay a premium for your services, then you only want to show your ads to, the elderly who are in the top 20% of the income brackets, right? So there's many, many ways that we can kind of target the very specific types of customers that we want buying from us. So with Facebook, whenever you go to create an advertisement or you go to boost a post, you will be faced with the audience that you actually want to show this to. And so this here, the first box, this is where you get to do some basics. This is where you get to edit the location. So again, we're just servicing the Sarasota area with this fictitious landscaping company. So we're going to choose Sarasota. You can do it by zip code. You can do it by city. There's multiple ways that you can target by the location. Next, you want to target the age range that you want to show to. So we have our two different customer avatars. We have the young woman who just bought her first house, and then we have the elderly man who can't take care of his yard anymore. So we would actually target two separate audiences there. Next, what we can do is we can get a little bit more detailed. So this is pretty much where Google ends and where Facebook begins. Right. So with Google, you don't have this option. You have just, if I go back, you have just the basic location, age range, and gender. But again, with Facebook, we can go into the demographics. We can say, okay, what's their education level? What financial brackets are they in? Do they have any life events coming up, whether it's a birthday or an anniversary or something? Do they have children? Maybe you're trying to target parents. Maybe you sell educational toys or educational tutoring services. So you only want to target, parents with kids in the ages of, let's say, 4 to 10 or something. Are they married? Are they divorced? Are they widowed? You can target based on their relationship status. And then after that, you can go in and get into the psychographics. So again, like Jack was saying, this is sort of their behaviors and their interests. How do they behave? What are their interests? What do they like to do? So with interests, you can target people based on the different industries, or you can say, okay, what type of music do they like? Are they in the gym a lot? Do they like to, are they into fitness? Do they have pets? Do they have a dog or a cat? All of these different interests, you can actually go in there and you can target people on. And then we can get into their behaviors in just a minute. But first, what I want to talk about too is targeting homeowners. Again, we're in a landscaping company, so we want to target people who own their own houses, right? Well, a few years ago, Facebook actually removed that as an option. We used to be able to target people who were homeowners. But that kind of, there were some privacy issues with that, so they got rid of it. So now if we want to target a homeowner, we kind of have to do it a different way. So we have to target them based on their interests and make the assumption that based on their interests, they own a house. So for a landscaping company, it could be somebody who's into doing it yourself, like DIY projects, home improvement projects, and maybe even gardening. Right. So that's just, a way to kind of get around the limitations that these new privacy settings are kind of putting up walls against, so we're able to kind of get around those walls by kind of targeting their interest based on the assumption that that interest equals the target that we're actually trying to focus on, in this case, homeowners. And then we have the behaviors. So this can be extremely powerful too. And usually the one that I use in this section, like 90% of the time, is going to be their purchasing behaviors. So if you own, let's say, an e-commerce store and you're trying to sell products to people, you want to show your ad to people who have actively clicked on a link or clicked on a Facebook ad and then made a conversion on the website, whether that was, a purchase. In this case, it would be a website purchase. And so if we're trying to sell products to people, then we want to show our ad to people who are more likely to actually buy our stuff. And so inside of behaviors here, you can go, the third from the bottom is purchase behavior. And there's one called active buyers. And those are people who have actively clicked on a Facebook link and purchased something from that website within, I think it's like 7 to 14 days. So within 2 weeks, that person has actually gone through and purchased something from a Facebook ad. So it's a really powerful tool to really hone in, and you can get very specific with this as well. Next, what we can do is we can fine tune our audience. So there's 2 boxes that I want to draw your attention to, and it's outlined by the green box there, and it's called exclude and narrow audience. So exclude is, well, let's say there's one particular interest that kind of is a red flag that I know for a fact that they're not going to be interested in our products or our services. So I can add that to an exclusion zone so that even if they match do-it-yourself or gardening or home improvement, but maybe they were interested in a second thing that's like, wait a minute, that's not the kind of person we want to try and target. So you can add that to your exclusions. And the second one is narrow audience. And this is where the purchasing behavior would go. So for instance, let's say for me, I'm trying to sell a product to a dog owner. So inside of my hobbies, it would say, be hobbies and activities and dogs, dog owners or pet owners, things like that. But I'm trying to sell them a product too, right? So I want them to be interested in pets, and I want them to be an active buyer. And so that's where the narrow audience comes in. So as it is right now in this primary box, let me just pull out the laser pointer here. So this is the primary box, and this is essentially an or statement, right? So I'm targeting people who are interested in do-it-yourself, or they're interested in gardening, or they're interested in home improvement. So my ads could be showing to anybody with just one of these interests. With the narrow audience, this essentially implements an and statement. So they have to be, do it yourself and an active buyer, or gardening and an active buyer, right? So this is a way to really narrow down and fine tune your target audience to make sure that you're showing your ads to the people most likely to actually, convert on your website, whether that is to, fill out a contact form to generate into a lead, or it's to send them to your e-commerce store to purchase a product. And then once that's all set and you put in your budget for the day or for the month, it will give you statistics based on your target audience and your budget on roughly how many people per day will see your ad, and then how many people per day will click on your ad. So with that, that pretty much sums up my little engagement of the target audience presentation. Next week is going to be our final presentation in the marketing series. That is December 8th at 12 p.m. And I'm going to be talking about all the different effective digital marketing channels. And so we go over website design because that's sort of the foundation. We go briefly over SEO, Google ads, Facebook ads, email marketing, social media marketing, all that good stuff. So be sure to tune in again next week, same time, to learn about all the different effective digital marketing channels. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Diane.
Thank you. And also, we have one more webinar in December. That's December 15th, and that will be LinkedIn, talking about setting up your LinkedIn account and making it more effective. All right, questions. Let me look and see. There seems to be a couple of questions. In your opinion, what is the best marketing data source for he says B2G. I wonder if he means B2B providers.
Yeah, I'm not sure what B2G is, but can you, is that in the Q&A section here?
In your opinion, what is the best marketing data source for Okay, well, if we said it was B2B, I think that Facebook would probably not be your first choice. Is that true,
No,
John?
so for B2B, I would say that Mergent Intellect that Jack had talked about, it's a huge database, and it pretty much has all the information on all the different businesses out there. So that's really huge to research. And also LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great way to research for B2B.
Right. Robert has a question. This all seems geared toward B2C. What if I'm marketing B2B and looking for digital marketing agencies to sell them my web hosting solution?
So for B2B, you can still have success on Facebook. It would kind of be, you would have to target them based off of their job role or their position. So you can target people based on the specific job title that they have. So let's say, they're a marketing, like VP of marketing or marketing manager or something like that. That would allow you to market them through Facebook. LinkedIn would be a much better way to go. And LinkedIn's more, geared more towards the B2B factor. But then again, another great way would to search for digital marketing agencies is just go to Merchant Intellect. Like I said, Merchant Intellect is just a huge business database, and it gives you all the financial figures. It shows you who the principals are of that business, so you know who to talk to. And then you can use that information to then go back into LinkedIn to find employees of each of those agencies to figure out who you need to talk to in order to use you as their web hoster.
Great. Chris clarified B2G. I've never heard this as business to government.
Okay. So data sources for business to government providers.
Right.
That's a tricky one. I've worked with a couple businesses in the past who have worked strictly with the government. But as far as trying to find resources for them, I know that it's a very kind of narrow channel, and it's extremely specific for that particular stuff. It depends on which side you are. If you're a government looking for, businesses that do government work, or vice versa. If you're a business looking to get business from governments, I mean that's a whole nother lecture to go through. But you can still use tactics like Facebook advertising, again, trying to target people who are government employees based on their job title and where they work. If you're just trying to find a database of government facilities that you want to try to sell your products or services to, I mean, I'm sure Merchant Intellect has all of those as well.
One last question, I think. Would you recommend Facebook marketing tool for hiring?
We have done that in the past. Facebook ads are great to try and generate some leads to get people to apply for a job. The downside, though, is that because there are non-discrimination laws in the entirety of the US, you can't specify the type of person that you're looking for. The only thing that you can specify is the region, the area, the geographics of where you're looking to hire people. So you don't have any control over the demographics of the actual people, nor the interests or anything. That gets all grayed out. You have no access to that. All you can do is you can type in your job information, you can type in your budget, and then you type in the area that you want your ads to show in.
Anonymous would like to know, what do you feel is the best resource for finding a local marketing expert that can handle all my marketing needs, as well as website setup, etc.? This is a big one.
Honestly, a SCORE mentor. They have a resource for any type of business that you or services that you may need. I know SCORE has a list of highly qualified marketing agencies that can handle that for you. And plus, a lot of them are also SCORE clients themselves. They're trying to start up their businesses or, just make their agencies better. And so Score is going to be a great way to help you find a local marketing agency that's very highly qualified.
That's a great plug and certainly a good suggestion. One more, I guess it's really more of a comment with all the privacy issues coming up, specifically with Facebook. Do you foresee this tool becoming obsolete?
I don't see it becoming completely obsolete. Personally, I have geared myself more towards search engine advertising, just for the fact that because of all of these privacy issues, and a few years ago, you could track everything that anybody did that came from Facebook on your website, and you could track anything that they did on their phone. And so there's so much data that Facebook collects on all of its users. With all of these privacy settings coming into play now, and privacy being one of the big key points for a lot of the major tech companies nowadays, it's going to be a lot harder to market through platforms like Facebook that relies 100% on that information. With that being said, though, Facebook makes all of its money through people running advertisements on it.
Right.
That's how they make their money. So they're gonna find a way to get around those privacy settings. So I don't see it becoming obsolete. I see it being a bit harder in the near future, but they're gonna, like I said, that's their entire revenue stream. So they're gonna find out a way to make sure that people still want to use them for advertising.
I also find that those settings that you have to turn on or off as a consumer on Facebook are not always intuitive, and most people are very casual Facebook users, so they're not going into the nooks and crannies and making those changes.
Yep, and that's a great point too. A lot of those privacy settings, while they are being implemented, they're not enabled by default. You have to go into your page and you got to really dig down in there to turn off some of those features. So that's a great point, Diane.
Yeah, it's not intuitive, and they're not going to make it any easier for you. So Ebony suggested or asked if you would recommend 4 different customer profiles for business targeting, male and female, and of 2 different demographics.
Yep. So honestly, I would make as many customer profiles as you possibly can. I always like to have too many, because it just makes it a lot easier to try and hone in on the correct one. If you try to go too broad and you try to combine too many different things, then it's going to be a lot more difficult for you in the future to kind of pinpoint exactly, well, what exactly is not working for this particular target demographic or target audience. So having 4 different customer profiles, targeting male, female, and then 2 different demographics. You could have 2 completely separate categories. You've got your male category and your female category, and then underneath you've got maybe 10, customer profiles for each. So the more the better, in my opinion, because it's a lot easier to narrow down into exactly what's working, as opposed to being too broad and too general up front, trying to combine too many of those items, and then you're kind of left scratching your head as to, well, why isn't this one performing very well? You could have 2 customer profiles that are identical, but the only difference being the age range. So that's just one difference between the 2. Personally, I like to try and be that specific. I like to try and have my customer profiles to where there's literally only one difference, so that I know when I'm running Facebook ads and I'm targeting all of these different target audiences, I can see exactly which ones are working and which ones aren't, and I know exactly why they're working because of those minute differences.
I think that's a great idea. When I was selling my book, I actually had a picture of a person that I felt was sort of my target audience, and she represented who I was writing for. And I find also that when I have a picture and I put it on my computer, tape it up somewhere, when I'm writing my posts, I think about this individual, and I think about having a conversation with her, and it makes it easier for me to write the copy.
Absolutely. And I did see a comment here. I do want to just kind of add to it. Somebody mentioned that they were going to be checking out Merchant Intellect. Now, Merchant Intellect by itself, if you just try to go to the website, it's going to require you to have an account, and it's not a free product. So you do have to pay. But in order to get it for free, if you're in the Manatee County or Sarasota County, if you just go to your local library and get a free library card, you actually use your library card number to sign into Merchant Intellect through the Manatee Library website. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that.
Wow, that's a big help, I think. You're right. I'm sure it's a very expensive operation. Okay, Jeremy, could you click once for me?
Sure.
All right, I just want to reinforce that we would like you to visit our website, minnesota.score.org. If you are interested in volunteering, maybe you don't know that much about this subject, but you know a heck of a lot about other subjects and would be a great mentor. Great, click the volunteer and sign up to be a mentor. Or if you're looking for a mentor, we have a link for that. Find a mentor, fill in your information, and you're good to go. Or you can search our podcasts and workshops and meetups and all the information that we have on there. There's a wonderful search box at the top. People have been asking about where they can find the first 2 episodes of this series. And by going to minnesota.score.org, in the search box, enter Jeremy's name or Jack's name, and all of their recorded webinars will come up, and you'll be able to find them very easily. So relative to that, I want to remind you that you will be getting a follow-up evaluation. If you could just take a moment to fill in that survey, it'd be really great. How can we improve this series? And more importantly, what other topics would you like to see? We're always expanding our offerings, and your input on this is invaluable. So thank you all for coming. You will be getting in the next day or two a link to the recording. Whoever reminded me to turn on the recording, thank you. Or you wouldn't have gotten this recording, that's for sure. So thank you all for coming. We look forward to seeing you next week. If Jeremy hasn't whet your appetite yet, I don't know what we can do to get you interested, because he is an effective presenter and there are such nuggets of information that he has for us. So thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Jack. He's not here, I know, but thank you, Jack, for your part too. All right. Thank you all for coming. Bye-bye.